Franz then related to his friend the history of his excursion to the island of Monte Cristo, and of his finding a party of smugglers there, and the 2 Corsican bandits with them. He dwelt with considerable force and energy on the almost magical hospitality he received from the Count, and the magnificence of his entertainment in the grotto of the 1001 Nights. He recounted, with circumstantial exactitude, all the particulars of the supper, the hashish, the statues, the dream, and how, at his awakening, there remained no proof or trace of all these events, save the small yacht seen in the distant horizon driving under full sail toward Porto Vecchio. Then he detailed the conversation overheard by him at the Colosseum between the Count and Vampa, in which the Count had promised to obtain the release of the bandit Peppino, an engagement which, as our readers are aware, he most faithfully fulfilled. At last he arrived at the adventure of the preceding night, and the embarrassment in which he found himself placed by not having sufficient cash by 600 or 700 piastres to make up the sum required, and finally of his application to the Count, and satisfactory result that followed. Albert listened with the most profound attention. "Well," said he when Franz concluded, "what do you find to object to in all you have related? The Count is fond of traveling, and, being rich, possesses a vessel of his own. But go to Portsmouth or Southampton, and you will find the harbors crowded with the yachts belonging to such of the English as can afford the expense, and have the same liking for this amusement. Now, by way of his having a resting place during his excursions, avoiding the wretched cookery, which has been trying its best to poison me during the last 4 months, while you have manfully resisted its effects for many years, and obtaining a bed on which it is possible to slumber, Monte Cristo has furnished for himself a temporary abode where you first found him. But, to prevent the possibility of the Tuscan government taking a fancy to his enchanted palace, and thereby depriving him of the advantages naturally expected from so large an outlay of capital, he has wisely enough purchased the island and taken its name. Just ask yourself, my good fellow, whether there are not many persons of our acquaintance who assume the names of lands and properties they never in their lives were masters of." All right, you ready for one of these brain pretzel behind the podcast looks here? I accidentally skipped an episode, so I don't know what happens in yesterday's passage, which I'm going to release chronologically. So you all know what happened in yesterday's passage, and I do not, because I accidentally skipped recording that page, and now we'll have to go record it after I finish recording this here. So I'm relying on you to tell me what happened in yesterday's passage, and I'm going to sit here quietly for the rest of the episode and listen to you for a change. Oh, really? Now that I didn't expect. Well, okay. I mean, I could see how things were heading in that direction, but would not have pinned it as that being the way it unfolded. Oh, that is a really insightful comment about how Franz and Albert are seeing the situation differently. That makes more sense as to why Franz would relate the entire story to Albert in this moment. Okay, enough of the act. I mean, I don't know how I can comment without knowing the connective tissue here, so what I'm going to do instead, I think, is just bypass it and read you something out of the biography and then just tackle 2 commentaries tomorrow. I mean, Albert does seem to be making a good point, but in relation to what, I don't know. So let us see what the next page of our biography has to say, huh? Oh, yes, right. This is interesting. And I bookmarked this entire page, not just a passage from it. So I'm really going to have to try to paraphrase as I read it along here. The idea behind this was a little bit of history about publishing popular fiction in installments. Apparently, it was pioneered by someone by the name of Émile de Girardin, who launched a cheap daily paper called La Presse, spelled in the French way. And apparently that started in July of 1836. So not long before Monte Cristo and Three Musketeers, which was published before Monte Cristo, appeared. It's saying that the increase of the population that could read, coupled with the rise of the standard of living as the Industrial Revolution gained steam, get it? Steam. Opened up a market for low-priced daily presses. And so this gentleman realized that his costs would be pretty small, his profit margin, but that if he slowly increased circulation over time, he could raise the charges, particularly for advertising space. Boy, this sounds like a correlation to doing a daily podcast. Yet I have not raised anyone's rates on you or forced advertisements on you. And then another press magnate poached this idea and put out his first issue of his newspaper or a daily press on the same day that Girardin put out his, and charged the exact same quarterly subscription rate of 10 francs. So now we got a dollar amount to put toward what that is. Apparently, that makes sense. You're charging quarterly rather than daily. It's not like you're going... I'm sure you could still go to the newsstands and pick up the daily versions of it for a nickel or whatever. But this is the part that I found interesting. I mean, it's all interesting, but this is the part that I earmarked the page for, is that Girardin found success because he was the one that had the initiative to put unpublished novels appearing in parts, i.e. serialization, like what we're talking about with Dumas, into his daily publications. And apparently, the first published work in this way was from Balzac. You think I can pronounce this French name? La Ville Fili. Oh boy. In my commentary here, you get the unpolished attempts at French. When I'm recording it for the actual reading of the story, I will do countless takes until I get it right. But you know what? Warts and all, this is what you're getting. So, Balzac is the first serialized author of an unpublished novel, and after its success, because apparently Balzac was not exactly family reading, Girardin started commissioning lighter fiction, and other newspapers started following this example, and thus the serialized story gained its popularity. And then I'll round it out with this statement here, which is, I'm going to read this one sentence verbatim, so don't come at me, but one result was that the writing of fiction, which had previously been a far from lucrative occupation, suddenly became profitable, and indeed enormously profitable for the few who had the knack for writing stories that kept readers on tenterhooks. All agog for the next installment. Well, Dumas certainly fits that description. And now we've learned at least one author's history of how serialized stories came to be. Join me here tomorrow, and by tomorrow, I mean yesterday, for the episode that I forgot to record, and then will record, and then record tomorrow's episode after yesterday's episode, so that today's episode comes out when it's supposed to. Does any of that make sense? I don't know. Let's hop in a time machine and find out. Until then, okay, goodbye! The Countdown of Monte Cristo is part of the Gruntwork Podcast Network. This show is produced, edited, and hosted by Landon Solano. The original text of The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. Theme song by Magic Solo. If you want to support the show and others like it, visit patreon.com/gruntworkpod. Thank you for listening. See you tomorrow.